Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into the absolute extremes of automotive value. We're going to escalate from a literal piece of garbage all the way up to a priceless museum artifact. Let's get right into it. We're starting at the absolute bottom of the ladder, $1. Now, as you might guess, a $1 car is basically worthless on its own. It is literally a rust bucket. The second you open the door, it just reeks of stale smoke. And the real kicker? It ironically needs about 20 grand in repairs just to get the engine to even turn over. But from there, we rapidly accelerate to a massive $100,000. This is a monumental leap. At this tier, the raw mechanical struggles of our $1 rust bucket just vanish entirely. At this price point, you start seeing cars perform automated tasks that honestly look like pure magic to the average driver. And eventually, we peak at an astronomical $100 million for a single historical vehicle. At this level, it's not even a car anymore. It's an incredibly rare masterpiece that most of us will never even see in person, let alone actually have the privilege to drive. So, this staggering price escalator really forces us to ask a fundamental question. At what point does a car stop being just a vehicle and start being, well, something else entirely? Like, why on earth do they actually cost this much? Let's start with Section 1, the rust and the robots, where we look at the value at the very bottom of the ladder. The juxtaposition here is absolutely wild. For one single dollar, you get that rusted-out shell we just talked about, the one smelling of smoke that needs 20 grand just to run. But jump to 100 grand, and suddenly you're sitting in a Tesla that is practically an autonomous robot. It easily fits the whole family, seamlessly changes lanes on its own, and literally drives itself. This self-driving tech is so surreal, it actually prompted one passenger to ask a pretty hilarious but completely valid question. Jimmy, are you telling me now you can take a nap while driving? Now, just to be entirely clear, napping at the wheel is definitely not recommended. But it perfectly highlights how jumping to the six-figure mark shifts a car from being a mechanical burden to basically an automated chauffeur. Moving on to Section 2, explosions, oceans, and skies. This is where we really start pushing the limits of physics. So for $300,000, you aren't just buying transportation anymore. You are buying military-grade survival. The testing on this explosive-proof car was intense. First, they blew up a normal car, and it didn't handle it well at all. The test mannequins literally flew out in a massive fireball. But then they tested the armored car. They even put Feastable's chocolate inside the tank-like cabin just to see if it would survive the blast. And incredibly, after detonation, the vehicle barely suffered a scratched window, and that chocolate was perfectly intact. Insane, right? Now, if surviving a literal bomb isn't enough for you, dropping $500,000 gets you a vehicle that drives straight off the beach and turns into a high-speed boat. On land, it looks completely normal. But you drive it directly into the water, wait for a little beep, and suddenly you're floating. It transforms on the fly, so you can do massive, high-speed donuts right out in the middle of the ocean. And for $600,000, the value proposition literally takes to the sky. You get a completely street-legal car equipped with a propeller and wings. The reality really hits you the moment you look down and realize the wheels aren't on the ground anymore. This thing actually flies 8,000 feet in the air, so the value isn't even tied to the road at all at this point. Pushing this sci-fi envelope even further, we hit the $2 million mark with a highly limited prototype. This car runs entirely on hydrogen, boasts an incredible top speed of 221 miles per hour, has a range of over 1,000 miles, and get this, it amazingly exhales drinkable water right from its exhaust. It's a breathtaking proof of concept that totally redefines automotive fuel and environmental impact. Next up is Section 3, the $1 million supercars. Here we transition into pure engineering perfection and appreciating assets. Take the $10 million Koenigsegg Vader, which is the fastest production car on Earth. The specs on this thing are almost hard to comprehend. The paint itself actually contains literal crushed diamonds. The frame is constructed from an air-cored carbon fiber, dropping its overall weight to almost 500 pounds less than a Lamborghini. Paired with a monstrous twin-turbocharged V8 engine, the resulting speed and power are so intense that insurance companies will only allow the actual owner to drive it. Or consider this massive number, 1 million. That represents the amount of money Jay Leno's McLaren F1 essentially earned him every single year. He bought the car for $800,000 back in 1998. Today, that exact same car is valued at a staggering $20 million. So at this level of wealth, cars aren't just toys anymore. They're incredibly lucrative, appreciating assets that just sit beautifully in a garage, growing in value by the minute. Finally, we reach Section 4, Priceless History on Wheels. This is when cars become untouchable artifacts. For $50 million, you aren't just buying metal and leather, you're buying pure legacy. This specific Jaguar was the legendary actor Steve McQueen's daily driver. It's deeply steeped in history and famously earned him so many speeding tickets that his license was actually suspended. When you sit behind the wheel of this, you are driving a tangible, priceless piece of Hollywood history. Then we have a $30 million Ferrari. So what makes this one so valuable? Well, it was a one-of-one custom gift directly from the founder of Ferrari to the founder of Ford. But proving that immense value doesn't always equal perfect reliability, when it was pushed to its limits on the street during a test drive, it actually stalled out. It's a stunning piece of automotive history, but it certainly still has its mechanical quirks. And this brilliantly illustrates the climax of our journey, the $100 million world's first Ferrari. The logistics of simply moving this car are just mind-bending. They had to have a police escort completely close down public roads. Street cleaners were brought in to meticulously fill and sweep every single pothole to ensure absolutely zero damage. Only one specific museum representative was allowed to drive it, and the entire, incredibly tense drive was confined to a single, heavily controlled bridge. So, the crucial point to take away and ponder is this. When a vehicle costs $100 million, is locked away in a museum, and requires a closed-down, surgically cleaned bridge just to barely touch a real road, has it transcended being a car altogether? It really stops being transportation and becomes a cultural relic, a piece of art, and a true testament to human engineering. Thank you for joining me on this explainer of automotive extremes. I hope this leaves you looking at every single car out there on the road just a little bit differently.